Hey there, I am so glad you're here. Come on in and enjoy coffee chat at the Cubby Hole. Okay, you might be thinking, coffee sounds fun, but girl, what is the Cubby Hole? The Cubby Hole was a divine little nudge on my heart, if you will, to build the space in our basement, in our home, where our friends and family could come and receive encouragement and love. And that's exactly what we've been doing. I've always known that the Cubby Hole would have a ripple effect out into the world, that it could bring encouragement and hope, not just to people that could visit here in person. That is exactly why I do coffee chats. I get to take some of the coolest people that are just like you and just like me, who have skill and talent, but most importantly, they have a vulnerable, relatable story that we can all glean some hope and encouragement from. So grab a coffee, cozy up, and enjoy Coffee Chats at the Cubby Hole. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Marlo Russ with Coffee Chats at the Cubby Hole. I am so glad you're here. I am back in the Cubby Hole and so glad to be here. Thank you for all your love and your notes. I felt all the love from all of you. So thank you. I'm so happy to be back here live. Okay, today, so many fun announcements. I have a very special guest. Today, we are going to be talking about happiness. Do you know how to find your happiness? Are you really, really happy? Like when you put your head on the pillow at the end of the day, can you say, yeah, I am perfectly happy? Maybe you are. But today's coffee chat at the Cubby Hole, we're going to explore the word happiness and how oftentimes there's things that are the opposite of our nature, where we do things that are the opposite of our nature, or maybe there's things that are the opposite of our nature where we can find happiness. We're going to dive into this topic, and I am so excited to introduce you to my guest. He is a very special guy. He is Robert G. Lee is my special guest today. You've seen him. He's written episodes for VeggieTales. You have probably heard him possibly thousands of times on Sirius Radio. He has released several comedy DVDs, including his Dry Bar special. An incredibly talented man who I get to call a friend. I'm so joy-filled to call him a friend. But guess what? Today is unique because usually I am sitting here and I am talking to my guest from somewhere else in the country. And today, for the first time, I get to say, welcome live over here, my friend, accomplished comedian, Robert G. Lee. Come on in.
I should come in?
Come on in. Yes. Here, okay, we're just going to do a little.
Thank you. I've got my thing. I'm going to have to get down lower to be seen. So
here, we'll just take this.
Thank you.
Oh, we got to have the disinfectants. Yeah. Wash your hands. Wash your hands.
I'm just worried about the computer. Hold on.
Yeah. Do this. Yes. We good? Okay. Good. We're good.
So I'm gonna sit
because
I'm too tall.
Thank you for being here today. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I said David was my hubby, who we all got to spend time together last night and hang out. David was my first guest, but he was my first co-host live. You're my first.
Yes, that doesn't count.
My first in-person.
If you come,
guest.
You get tea. She's got tea with cute little tea bags that she puts in honey. She's the biggest host you've ever seen in your life. She out-hosts us the mostest. She's great.
Oh, we've had so much fun. We had dinner last night with David and the girls, and we have another fun house guest too that we'll talk about later. But anyway, so guess what? So guys, another announcement is, let me just put this poster up, because tomorrow night, the reason that Robert is here is because tomorrow night we have a live. Oh, wait, did I tell you?
No.
Oh, I thought you thought you were just coming to visit?
Yeah.
No, we're doing a show together.
Oh.
Do you have any material?
No.
Put something together. You've got like 29 hours.
Okay, good. I'll throw it together. Good.
Tomorrow night, you guys, for those of you that have been tuning into Coffee Chats at the Cubby Hole, I don't know. Yeah, you saw in the trailer that this place, this space down here, is a divine little nudge from God to do this space, to bring friends and family in from our community to offer laughter, light, and love. So for the longest time, we did live comedy gatherings. Well, things shut down about a year ago, so we haven't been able to do that. So tomorrow night we have our first, we have our a live event, which we are so excited to do. But it's only going to be a small group. It's not going to be the normal large group of people, but we're offering it virtually. So no matter where you are in the country, they can tune in.
All right.
So here's the poster. You can join us tomorrow. I'll put the link in the comments. You can join us tomorrow night. We have Rhonda Corey, Timothy Steele, and of course, starring this guy, headlining, Robert G. Lee.
Yay!
Yay!
I'll be here tomorrow night.
Oh my gosh, your picture's right up there, ready for you to sign. We are going to have such a good night. So, bright and early, you are on California time. Thank you.
I am. But last time I was on your show, I had to get up in California like at 6:30 to be on at 7 o'clock. So this is fine.
Oh, good. Well, here we are. And oh my goodness.
No donuts. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh my goodness. What?
I should have brought you donuts.
Yeah.
You know what? Last night when we were all sitting around having spaghetti, I was going to set an alarm to say, go get the donut. I will have donuts for you at some point. Oh, so anywho. Well, now that we're talking about unhappy things.
Yes.
Because I forgot to get up and either make the donuts or go get you the donuts. Let's talk about happiness. It would be a lot more happy if we had donuts.
Well, that's just circumstances. Happiness based on circumstances never works. So I will get over my fine self on that.
You know what? I planned this.
You did.
I don't want you to be happy just based on circumstance. I didn't know how else to say it.
Thank you. Now, I wrote a book. I'm a comedian who pivoted, and I actually wrote a book. And they have it here. And look, the folder, the cover bends out, so someone actually read it. I believe it was her husband, Dave, which is great. So I've got to sign it for him. But as a comedian, you're always pivoting. And as a Christian, I'm always trying to find out, what should I do next? Mm-hmm. And so after this book, I said, well, I think this is the way I'm going to go. And I've been doing a Bible study at our church for, I think it's over 20 years, maybe longer, maybe 30. I'm so old, I don't remember how long it's been. But all that to say, you start thinking, okay, well, what do I want to talk about now? And it seems to me that this culture is preoccupied with happiness. Mm-hmm. And the proof of that is in the year 2000, there were 50 books written on happiness, just 50. In the year 2008, guess how many were written? Just 8 years later. I can guess. Okay, 4,000. So in 8 years, it went from 50 to 4,000. I think the number's up to 6 billion a year now, because the self-help section is just all over the place on what we do. So we try everything to be happy. My wife is a marriage and family therapist, and people come to her because they're not happy, and we just don't seem to have the means to do it. And we have clues, but we just miss them. Mm-hmm. And I think we think, okay, a relationship's going to make me happy. So, Tinder blows up. Oh, money is going to make me happy. Of course, that's going to make me happy. And I think the best quote on that is from, and I don't have the exact quote, but it's from Jim Carrey. And of course, he's extremely rich, extremely wealthy. And he says, I wish everyone was rich and famous so they could find out that it doesn't bring happiness.
Yes. I've talked about that. I love that quote. I've talked about it on the show. It's so true.
It is. And it's just amazing. Like, so that's not it. And then you get married, you think this is going to solve all my problems. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't. Marriage is a partnership, and it's wonderful. You've been married. Mm-hmm. David's the best guy in the world. You have no idea. I'm pointing up, not like he's in heaven, but he's upstairs. But he is such a great guy.
No, you got to point that way, because he went to the office.
Okay. Oh,
he was upstairs, and now he's at the office.
And I've got a great wife. We've been married, it'll be 40 years in September. So we went through rocky periods about 20 years in. And I think it was because I thought happiness was going to come from, hey, I've given you a big house and I've got a career and what's going on? And but the relationship wasn't there. So we talked in the previous program about my anger problem. So I had to get rid of all that and almost start again and find that's not the secret to happiness. So you're not going to find it in all these places, and you're putting too much pressure on your career. You're putting too much pressure on your family. Some people just get animals and they go, I'll be happy if I'm a nurturing soul, so I'll become the cat lady. And all these things are not going to bring you happiness.
Yes.
And so we're just all left with this depression that every place I see, people are happy and I'm not happy. Something must be wrong with me.
Oh, yeah.
And
the comparison game.
Yes,
yes.
and so you're seeing the facade of everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
and those people aren't happy either.
Mm-hmm.
But they look happy because they're on Facebook and they're posting things on TikTok, and it looks like they've got their life together, and I am just depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do with that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the answer is right out there. I think the answer can be found because according to C.S. Lewis, in his book, Surprised by Joy, he got these glimpses of joy, and he would find this happiness. And so he spent the rest of his life looking for this happiness, this joy, and he couldn't find it. And for him, he said, if I feel this joy and I can't find it on this planet, that must mean it's someplace else. It's achievable, but not here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first clue. The second clue comes from Timothy Keller in his, he talks a lot, he's got his book about actually pain and suffering, but he talks about be aware of your discontent. And I thought that was an interesting phrase, be aware of your discontent. Don't try to cover it up with drugs, with success, with just being busy all the time. I did that in high school. I was so unhappy and insecure. I just stayed busy. And I knew if I stayed busy, I wouldn't be depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it. Even in high school, I knew it. But
it's almost like you're running. You're you're avoiding either pain or that lack of happiness. You're just running and trying to just steer away from it.
So when you go to bed at night, you're exhausted and you don't have time to think about how unhappy you are.
Exactly.
So he says, be aware of this discontent, because the strange thing is your discontent is a gift from God. He is saying, I know you're not happy, and I know how I can make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
We can get there. But the clue is it's got to be together. It's not just you. Paul in Philippians says he has learned to be content with either plenty or want.
I love that. Aware of your, it's like just stopping in time and putting a value on your discontent, because boy, that could be a turning point
for a lot of people.
Well, yeah, because you don't have to look at it and say, the minute in our culture too, with the way our culture has changed, it's immediate gratification. So we have to be happy right now, and if we're not happy, something's really wrong, and then you can spiral. And I know there's obviously depression and clinical depression and things like that, but this is a chance, like you're saying, to just this conversation, to bring that awareness, to just stop and like stamp it with a value. Just put this, there's value on this and this discontent, and you can go from there. There's answers. It doesn't have to be
right. Don't wallow in it. Don't stay there. Then you say, okay, what is the solution to this?
Right.
So when Paul says he's content with either a lot or a little, in want or in plenty, and then so the clue there is, it's not. He's content, and it's not because of money, lack thereof, or an abundance of. What is it then?
Mm-hmm.
And big surprise, the answer comes from, I wonder who it would be. It would be God. It would be Jesus.
Yes.
And he gives it to us on the Sermon on the Mount. And the Sermon on the Mount, the reason it's it kicks off the Bible, Matthew 6:33 is the actual verse. But in the Sermon on the Mount, he goes through all these things. It's like his greatest hits. Mm-hmm. And he's saying, okay, folks, this is what it is. Blessed are the meek and the humble and the peacekeepers and those who are being persecuted. He goes through this whole list of things like, this is the secret. But then in 33, he gets to the secret, which we all miss. Is it time to jump into the secret, or should we wait?
Oh, no, yes, jump, please.
Okay.
Everybody's on the edge of their seat. They want to know what you have to say.
I want to see what the comments are. Are there any comments? Okay,
yes.
So don't do, what is the secret? What is the secret?
Yeah.
You're full of, okay, no, I won't read that one. Okay, good. Jesus, quite simply, after all these things, blessed are these people, blessed are these people, blessed are this, all these kind of this to-do list, he says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all these things will be added unto you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's it. That's the key to the whole Bible. Later on in the Sermon on the Mount, he gives the golden rule. He talks so much. He gives so many things packed in that. It's not just the Beatitudes, but it's like, okay, so if you seek God first and his kingdom and his righteousness, all these things will be added unto you. There's so many clues about that in the Bible. When you get to Galatians, he goes, here's the fruit of you. Mm-hmm. And it's anger, discontent, drunkenness, witchcraft. He lists all these things in Galatians 5. He goes, but the fruit of the Spirit, Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control. It's not you doing it. It's the Holy Spirit inside of you growing these things. It's like, oh, if I had love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control, I might be content. When he has Mary and Martha, Jesus is sitting there and he goes, no. I forget which sister's in the kitchen. Was it Mary in the kitchen or Martha's at his feet? I always forget. But whatever it was, the sister in the kitchen thought she was serving God. She thought she had the answer. She was busy. I'm going to do this for God. He goes, no, you got it wrong. Your sister has it right. She's having a relationship with me. This is what you have to do. The problem is, it's the opposite of our nature. And that's so the book, I don't know what the title is exactly, but it's something about the happiness paradox, because it's the opposite of what we think. We think, well, I'll drive it by success and I'll succeed. And he goes, no. It's a relationship with me, and it's giving up all those dreams and desires so I can fill you with what I want you to do, which is the true desire of your heart. I'll give that to you. And so you have to learn how to do the opposite. So how do I seek God? And it's the Bible is filled with what I call if this, then that. If you do this, then I'll do that.
Right.
It's like, give God, don't rely on your own understanding. And if you rely on God, he'll make your path straight. If you do this, then I'll do that. So it says, if you seek God first and his kingdom and his righteousness, then, underline then all these things will be added to you. And so that is the happiness paradox. And it's like, all right, I have to be humble. This country says, don't be humble. That's the first thing he says, humble yourself. And then he says, blessed are the peacemakers. Oh, people who forgive their enemies. I mean, it sounds really good on paper until someone insults you and yells at you and doesn't give you that gig that you wanted. Blessed are the persecuted. No. I do not want to be persecuted, but it's for my name's sake. So he has all these things that, I'm supposed to achieve. I'm supposed to be all that I can be. He says, no. And when you seek me and have that relationship with me, then you'll be content. And I don't know if it's happiness. I don't know if joy is different than happiness. Happiness is based on circumstances. Right. There have been books that have been written on that. It's like 10% of your whole happiness is based on circumstances, and the rest of it is your decision. So you have to make a decision at the end of the day to say, I'm content. I don't have a big career. I don't have a big house. You people should see this house. It's fantastic. It's envy making. Oh my goodness, it's gorgeous. And the way they did this basement up for the Cubby Hole, they went to a heck of a lot of trouble. But that's not bringing her happiness. No, we're not saying that.
Yeah, I was just going to say so many stories with that. I have to go back, what you were talking about, Mary and Martha. David was flipping through YouTube, and he was watching some of your videos a while ago. He's, Marlo, come here. Have you ever seen this? And it was a video that you did where you played the role of Jesus, and Mary and Martha had you over. And yeah, which one? Martha. One was scurrying in the kitchen. Oh no, I have to go and make things. I have to please him with baked goods. And the other sat with you and just spent time. Oh no, were they both in the kitchen?
I think they both
were in the kitchen. They both were in the kitchen. That's right. You were sitting there twiddling your thumbs like, all I want is, on behalf of Jesus, is all I want is time with you. And they're trying to figure out, one of them is trying to make you
Jesus never got a word in edgewise. They were just so busy and scurrying. And then they just left.
And getting the word in edgewise too, that goes along to what you just said. All the words that you just used, be this or be that, or do it. When you're talking about the concept of what you're talking about is really making it so much more simple. Not to oversimplify, but we do as humans complicate things. We're going to be really good at this or really good at that. And I know I'm going to get Jesus to really love me. And what you're talking about is a topic that is also, we're going to have something similar coming up with my friend Tara Olette. We're going to be talking about our purpose, but attaching our identity and our titles with our worthiness. And that's what you're talking about. Your happiness. So what happens as a comic, if you attach all of your identity, like for yourself, a very accomplished comedian, we attach everything we have to that, and then a pandemic hits. Now what?
I'm performing in basements now. That's where I'm at. That's
not
my
just
career.
Basements. You've got, what do you have coming up? You've got an attic?
And a foyer.
Yeah,
I've got many places, many areas of different homes I'll be in.
Sorry, I just pulled your punchline. I stole that from the other day. No, but yes, things are looking up but anyway, during all of this, and thank you for what you said about our home and the Cubby Hole. But the thing is, I want to go back to you in the pandemic, but we've had this house, we've been here 18 years. It's been through its trials, the good, the bad, the ugly. And doesn't matter what size home you live in, or if you have a place called the Cubby Hole, there's discontent. And until you finally learn, I mean, David and I know, we did a show on marriage. We had to learn to surrender and say, doesn't matter. I mean, a big house can make you unhappy. A small house can make you unhappy. It's what the surrender that you have and that simple joy and peace that you find in Jesus, that you find you rely on that more than any square footage.
Well, I got my family a big home. It was huge, and I thought, that's it. They're going to see how much I love them. They all have their own rooms. We've got 2 staircases. It's so much room. We can have big parties. It's going to be great. And I was so tense and angry and just having to, how do I keep up this mortgage? What do I do? And then finally, when I got rid of it, I just drive along, oh, air conditioning's out. It's not my problem. It's my landlord. Okay, right, insurance will take care of it. So I have so much more freedom now.
It's so true.
And all those friends that stayed in apartments their whole lives and saved their money, it's like, oh, man, I have the worst of both worlds. A small place and no money. I have both.
We talk about that because a lot of our happiness ends up being attached to, if we allow it, our happiness ends up being attached to our list is loaded this weekend. We have so much to do to maintain this and maintain that. Last weekend, David and I were driving to Home Depot. We pulled over the car. We're like, what is this all about? Like, there's too much swirling. So our happiness was attached to our list of things to do. We both know better than that. And we had to just sit there and at the end of the day, surrender and say, we got that wrong. This is not about, we know we're in a rush, we're in a time limit, but it's not about that. But if you want to speak to that, and I also want to talk about you and the identity during the pandemic. We identified.
Well, I'll go to the pandemic because we talked about this last night. And so people say, how did you come out of the pandemic? And because I don't have, people think, oh, you've done this, you've done VeggieTales, you've done Dry Bar, you're doing TV warm-up. Well, the TV place just dried up. There's nothing. There are no audiences. And the crash of 2008 it didn't take our house, but took all my retirement out of that house. So we're just basically starting over, which is fine. But after the pandemic, people say, what did you get out of it? And I said, I feel taken care of because God set things up basically a year or 2 before the pandemic hit, that when it did hit, I had residuals coming in. Just after the month after it happened, I started getting residuals from Sirius Radio, and it kept us alive. So we had the residuals, we had the PPP loan, we had government assistance, we had unemployment, and every once in a while our neighbors would leave out a package from Amazon, and we'd get that and refund it and get some extra money. So anyway, we had lots of things that God took care of us.
It's a plan. You've got a plan in place.
He intended it. But I feel taken care of, and that's really the emotion I have coming out of the pandemic, because God says, I know that you're mine, and I spent all this time writing the book. It's like, am I going to get out?
Right.
And God says, no, you don't understand the way books work. You're planting this, and I'm going to bring a harvest down the road. It's not going to happen when you first release it. It has to get out there. People have to read it, and then eventually something will happen. So for me, it's just a lot of, all right, I'll keep doing the work, and I'll stay faithful. And I can't get anxious, so that's why I started digging into, well, what is happiness, and how does it work? And I've changed a lot of my ways of thinking and ways of doing things, and just trying to be more content. So that's I'm trying to be Paul, trying to be content without the whippings. I'm trying to be Paul without the.
And he wrote, all of his writings were in a dungeon, in a jail, and he found the joy. He found the joy. Such a goal. Such a goal, because we all feel, at times in our life, we feel in prison. So I love Paul. I enjoyed this last year reading more about Paul. You just mentioned something, and I wanted to go back to it. You were talking about the pandemic. What I wanted to ask you is, have you always felt this way? What's your faith journey been? For any viewer that's watching that's going, I don't understand what you're talking about at all. Like, what do you even mean by surrender? What do you mean by any of this? Because I just picture me, 10 years ago, going, I don't want to hear about it. I want that peace, but either they've been shamed maybe by situations, or they feel guilty, or whether it's a religious situation or just by a person that might have met well, but shamed them for some reason, and they're just real far from God. Did you ever walk that journey?
Oh yeah. Well, I always heard that God loved me, but I didn't care because my parents love me. I'm fine. I don't have problems. So I was in high school and I went to Young Life and did all that. And I knew that there was a God. and I didn't really deny it. I wasn't an atheist. I was more of an agnostic. I just didn't care.
Right.
And I wish I had a really great testimony, like I had the big drug adventure and I was an alcoholic. Nope, it was just I was sort of an inconsiderate, selfish kid, and I just didn't care. And then Josh McDowell came to our school, and it just happened to hit that part of my brain because he talked about the predictions in the Old Testament leading toward Jesus and the predictions of when Jesus is going to come back a second time. I'd never heard any of this stuff. Now, some people are very emotional, and when they hear Jesus loves them, they go, well, I want love, and so then they fall in love with Jesus. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that's in my head. It's like, oh, look how God set this up in the Old Testament. All these stories about Jesus in the Old Testament that I never knew or understood, and it came true in the person of Jesus. There are hundreds of predictions of Jesus in the Old Testament, literally over 300. And for one person, this is my favorite statistic from Josh McDowell, to fulfill just eight of those hundreds of predictions will be the same as filling Texas with silver dollars, which you'll never do, but Texas with silver dollars up to your knees, the entire state of Texas, walking in blindfolded, reaching down and pulling up the one silver dollar that has a cross etched on its back. Those are the odds of one person fulfilling 8 of his predictions. Like, how do you
retain stuff? That's what I'm hearing.
So how do you
retain great information? Like, I read it and I'm like,
Those things, they do. They stick in my head. And I got so excited thinking, this is a God I can't deny. This is a God who's so big that he set it up thousands of years ahead of time. Jesus came, fulfilled everything, and he's got predictions in the future of when he's going to come.
Yeah,
I can't deny this anymore. And when that linchpin finally happened, then I released and said, okay, I guess I'll do this. And so I checked a box on a card, said, yes, I want to hear more. And when you do that, Campus Crusade, who sponsored the event, they're over at your dorm in about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Like,
hello.
You want to accept Jesus? Yes, I do. I'll accept Jesus. And then they discipled me, and I had a great guy, and he realized that I wasn't a Campus Crusade kind of conservative. Hello there, young Christians. I was a little bit nutty, and I wanted to be a stand-up comic. And he was really funny. And he just passed away, but I just learned so much. And I met him, it was last summer when I was down in Nashville. He came out. So it's just so good to see him again.
Oh, nice.
His name was Fred Trott.
Life-changing.
It was.
Life-changing.
And so that started the journey. And the journey was not always intellectual, but that's what really excited me about the Bible. And so the hard part I've had with the Bible is actually doing what it says, because I'm really good at rule keeping. I'm not so good at relationship. It's like, okay, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do that, and I'm a good person. God says, that doesn't matter. I mean, it's a good thing, but it doesn't matter.
Rule-keeping.
So it's just different. It's the relationship, and I'm just not good at relationships. So it's like, all right, God says, just be still and know that I'm God. So sometimes it's just stopping and going, hi, God. Oh, I'm here. What do you want me to do? With that voice. I always do Kermit's voice. Oh, God, how are you? Okay.
Isn't that funny? Just certain voices pop out when you're, but it's funny. I love that you're talking about that you're a rule follower. You are very analytical, which I want to talk about your book for sure. Well, and you also talk about how you were real creative in high school too, on the other end of the spectrum. But a rule follower, that's so important because, again, a lot of people that are watching might say, well, I need to do this and this and this in order to be loved and accepted by God, in order to have the favor that they're talking about. I need to do all these things. And it really is. It's about relationship. I thought that same thing until I was sitting in my garage one day, and the relationship started. And I started to build this trust, like, wow. Because I'm not the analytical person. I'm not. David is the exact opposite. It sounds like you're pretty analytical, but not analytical. So I always thought, well, I can't have a relationship with God if I can't memorize scripture, or I don't know every single thing in the Bible. I thought, I've got a lot of homework to do, and I don't have time to do that. But it is about just surrendering and giving it just one step. You don't have to know all that.
But
I mean, it's beautiful. You don't have to.
If you have a parent and your parent loved you, and you know that your brothers and sisters, if you have brothers and sisters, are so different, and your parents love them, then you just extrapolate that to God, going, well, he made billions of us, and he loves each, and he knows us all intimately, and he's saying, you don't have to be like David.
Right.
You have to be like Robert. Just be you. Just be you. I made you because I love you, and I love the facets of you. Just do that. And you talk about the rules. We don't obey the rules to make God love us. We love God, and because we love God, we obey the rules. And that sounds one of those oxymoron kind of things where it's in circular thinking. But it's like, oh, I love him, so I'm not going to go get drunk. It's not, I'm not drinking because I can't have alcohol on Saturdays, and the Lord will look on me with disfavor. He goes, no, that's not where you're going to find your happiness. You're going to find it with me. So you're free to do whatever. Paul says you're free to do whatever you want to do, as long as you and God agree with it. Yes. You go, great. Oh, he wouldn't like that, would he? Okay. So,
is it Solomon that wrote? It's Ephesians, isn't it? Or Ecclesiastes with all of the
Ecclesiastes is Solomon.
It didn't make him happy. He wasn't happy, and nothing is new under the sun. Yeah. David and I really were taking a look at that one summer, and it was really, I know it really spoke to David, that everything, he had everything, you know. He is the Jim Carrey quote of the Old Testament. Yeah. So it's like, I got it all, and it's not going to bring you happiness. I'm telling you, I got everything. It's not going to bring you happiness. That's the truth. And was it Joyce Meyer that said, she's talking about the fruits of the Spirit. And she said, you don't know what fruit you are until you're squeezed or something like that.
Ooh, that's good. I like that.
And that was David and I last week on the way to Home Depot. I came home and I'm like, okay, that our fruit was just squeezed and we didn't do great. We didn't do great, but we went, okay, that's when we were able to recenter and say, you know what? And it's oh, there goes the chair. I should have locked it in. That means I'm supposed to stand up anyway. So it is good because that's the thing is with the quote unquote the rules, you don't have to get it right every day. And that's where, like last weekend, I was feeling like, we didn't get that right. And I just felt so, I started to feel bad about myself. But then I realized I was going back to that doctrine sort of mandate way of thinking. And it's like, no, I mean, we grew in that. Didn't you find that? Did you find that you've grown a lot in the mistakes and the failures?
Well, we had a thing in our family when our kids did something malicious, they would be punished. Mm-hmm. But if they spilled the milk on the counter, there's just a mistake. Yeah. We learned that if you just constantly correct your kids, they'll become gun shy. Right, yeah. So there's so many times that our son would just do something, you just look at it and go, just a mistake. And we go, you're right.
He stops you right in your tracks. I already know what you're going to say.
Yep, you're right. It's just a mistake. So Ann and I still do that. We'll just do something and something doesn't go right, and we'll go, it's just a mistake. Yeah. And so God goes, yeah, you're right. It's just a mistake. Instead of, I'm going to do this evil thing now. I'm going to rob that. It's like, no, just you go through life, you're going to make mistakes. And God says, we had another thing we had in baseball that we did, and my daughter still makes fun of me. It was because the kids would be out in the field and they'd drop a ball, and they'd be all depressed and they'd be kicking the dirt, throwing the mitt down. And on the side, I'd go, shake it off, get over it, move on. And shake it off, get over it, move on. And so my daughter still makes fun of me with that. She goes, oh, Dad.
Well, I love that because usually the coach is on the sideline doing like all these things, and you're like, you've got your own, like, get over it. I love that. I would love to take a bit of a jump over talking about men and what men go through.
Please.
Yeah, please. Let's have a discussion. Now, who was it? Where did this come up this week? There's a topic about men. It's going to pop in my head. There was a reason that I was so passionate about it, but men, I told you that I feel like God has just been expanding my territory this year to focus in on men. Right. I've always focused on women and with, whatever it is that I'm doing, women's issues, women's groups, but man. Oh my gosh, I know what it is. And I'm going to play that. Maybe I'll play that before. Our that's what it is. Our show tomorrow, when we do a Cubby Hole show, we love to, because this is a God-ordained space. And everything that we do and say down here is to give God the glory and to honor God. But with what we do with comedy, we get to do this with comedy. So what we do, David and I, with a small portion of the love offerings, is we donate it to an organization. We donated to a couple of individuals. We donated some to a young man that was going to Bulgaria, trying to make, a matter of fact, Michelle Van Dusen's son, who was making banana bread, one banana bread loaf after the other to save for his trip. And we thought, you know what? This will bless him. And a little girl that was going through a cancer journey. And so this event, we are giving a small portion of the love offering to a place called The Ranch. They are in Mount Pleasant, Texas. And Tammy and Rich Harmson started this ranch because Rich he struggled with alcohol addiction. Now, this is a God sprinkle. Like, I can learn the Bible, I can learn and memorize scripture, but man, when you surrender and you have God in your heart and you put him first in all that you do and you surrender, one night at 3 a.m, I just felt this little notion, nudge, put it on Facebook right now. And I put a note on Facebook, and within 10 minutes, a mutual friend of those two and mine, I had never met those two, she wrote me and said, here's an organization. And I talked to them the next day, and I knew it was God ordained that we needed to, give it to part of the donation to them. But the whole point is, he was talking about how at the ranch, they help men who struggle with alcohol addiction and substance abuse. And their mission is to put the heart of God into men and put men back in their families. And then you're here headlining, and I love it.
And I'm a man.
And you're a man, and it
man.
Works out. But here's the thing about you. You know this. Actually, by the way, I wish I had a gold medal to give you, because you have been on this show 3 times. You're the winner of the most frequently appeared. You've appeared the most on the show. But anyway, Robert is the reason that I changed the format of the show. We used to talk about, what do? You do comedy, you do this. And I realized one time you and I were talking on the show, and you were talking about how you struggled with anger at one point. I inverted the show immediately. I'm like, we need to talk about the heart of the matter, because everybody has a story. Everybody has a story, and we can all glean hope and inspiration. So you talking about that changed everything. Now I'm back to you and what men go through. Men carry the weight of the world on your shoulder, because a lot of men grow up with that John Wayne theory. I have to be tough. They end up dying of heart attacks because they're carrying the weight of the world, and they can't cry, they can't say. So I just love to touch on that, and your journey with that, and any men that are watching or that I can share this with from your perspective.
Right. I think the first thing is about the emotion. That is very interesting. How, I'm from Indiana, and it's, you're allowed to cry when the Cardinals win the World Series, and watching Old Yeller. And that's it. Those are the rules. So it's like,
is it one of the two things? Stop your crying.
Otherwise, there's no tears.
Stop your crying. And if you're like every other kid, you just change the sound of your cry. It's like, you just have to change it. No, stop crying. Or I'll give you something to cry about.
That's always a good thing. I'll give you something to cry. And so we are trained to be successful and to provide. And it's your job. But in that, where's my happiness? What about me? And I think a lot of my anger came from, I remember, I got so angry one time. I was with my family. We were in this big trip over to Scotland and Ireland, and it was just, it was like, okay, this the expense of the trip, and this, and this, and this, and this. And I wanted to do one thing, and they would not do it. They go, no, we want to do this. And I got so mad, I walked out. I walked all the way back to our hotel. I was fuming. And it was just ridiculous. It was like a little ant going, I'm angry. It was just so stupid. Anger is disappointment that's escalated. And so I learned over the years, and I still get angry. That's just my temperament. The temperament came from a family that wouldn't allow conflict. I think I touched on this a little bit, but it was always, that's not the Christian thing to do. So it's another thing about suppressing your emotions. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's the way you become a Christian. And that's how I was trained, is you make sure that you don't do the wrong thing. And the wrong thing was always just expressing anger. We don't do that. There's no conflict. Conflict, right. We have to be peaceful here. And so I never dealt with my emotions. And because of that, I would repress, hold in, and then boom, explode.
Exactly.
And it's a horrible way to live. And pray for my family in retrospect, because for the first 20 years, that was me. Fine, boom. And I still have that problem today. And it's getting better, but I still have it. And many people out there know, I think he's a jerk. It's because I exploded that one time. But it's this manly thing of, sometimes I like it. I mean, sometimes, she hates it no matter what. But we were on the path one time with some friends, and this guy bumped us, and he goes, hey, take up the whole path. And I just started yelling as we goes, and he wouldn't turn around. I go, what, are you too old? Are you too deaf? What are you? and then he turned, and just goes, oh, no. I go, he bumped into us. He's the one who yelled at us. It's not my problem. It's his. And my friend goes, I like this side of you. Oh, my wife hates this side of me. So don't cross me, because I will be the Papa Bear. Now, that time, I always think it's like when one teacher did something to my daughter, and I said, turn around, and we're going, because she was driving. We went back to my daughter's school, and I just leaned on his desk, as if you ever send my daughter out in the hall for doing something like that, I will come back in, and you and I are going to have a confrontation. I'm going to the principal right now and talk about you. And he You were just like, oh. So everybody knows the mama bear and the papa bear when it's
Yeah.
righteous indignation and you come out. I probably still was too big in that one. But you have to control your anger because anger is a useless emotion. God says, don't be angry. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. God says, if you want to get mad at somebody, you pray for them and you you be kind to them and you're heaping coals on their head. And I will take care of it later. But it's just bad for me. It's just, God says, and this is the lesson I learned in my anger journey. Above all else, guard your heart. It is the wellspring of life.
Wow.
And from that came
Yeah.
I see what I do. I pollute my heart with bad thoughts. Because whenever I get mad at Ann, we'd be in an argument and I would drive along and saying what I think I should. Oh, I should have said this. I should have said that. And I'm just rehearsing my hurt. I'm going over and over. And I have friends today, we have relations, and they're in their 50s and 60s, and they can't get over the hurt that happened to them when they were kids. They just hold on to it.
Whoa, you just struck a chord with me. You know you did.
So it's like and God says, guard your heart. It is for your benefit that I want you to get rid of that. That's why he says, blessed are the peacemakers. You have to forgive your enemy. You have to forgive the things that were how you were wrong. It's like, oh, that's what a real man is. A real man is someone who seeks peace. And it doesn't matter if your enemy ever agrees with you. You don't hold on to that anger because it's going to eat you up inside. That's why, as a comedian, everybody always uses the term, laughter is like good medicine. They always forget the second part. Anger dries the bones. So anger just makes you so tight. And that's why people move into substance abuse, like your friends from Texas are helping all these men. I'm not happy. Life's not going well. I get solace and I'll find happiness by getting drunk. Mm-hmm. And then they get addiction. They have an addictive personality, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Then they have to fight to get out of it. But it's not just men. That happens to everybody, but it definitely happens to men who feel like I'm worthless. I mean, you see many more men on the streets homeless because they just couldn't deal with life. Their best wasn't good enough.
And that's my passion. You know that from the other side of me with working with people one-on-one or in groups. I mean, that the premise kind of this show has kind of become that formula that I talk about. It's like those circumstances in your life, they create that pivotal moment where you have the belief that anchors in. It's over here. It's like it anchors in, and then you start to build this identity about who you are and how you feel about yourself. And then all of your actions then they're mimicked, or you take the actions based on way over here on that circumstance or that belief that rooted in. And the beauty and the joy is what you're talking about is obviously from a coaching perspective. I show people, that's what I've been really working with men lately, is you can go back. And you can go back to those moments and we think those moments happened. Like moments like good and well-intended people giving quote unquote bad advice. Unfortunately, good intention. They want to raise you to be strong. Don't cry. Do not do that. We don't do that. I talk about it all of the time. Or don't do that. Our family doesn't do that. We're from Indiana. Right. This is how we do things. You don't shame our family. And then it's rooted in. You feel this way about yourself. And then if these feelings happen, now back to what we talked, it's all attaching. Our whole conversation back to the beginning. Now
it's full circle.
It's more like I always refer to a rainbow, but it's like full circle. And then your identity is, this is why there's so much depression and anger in men, anger in women, that they say their whole identity was anchored way over here in what they believed about themselves. So there's empowerment work and coaching and reframing work to do. But what you're saying is when then you enter Jesus into the equation, that he will show you the way. I mean, it may not be immediate. Sometimes we have to wait, and it's in his timing, but that's a great combo to just be aware of what I was just talking about there, what Robert's talking about. And then, when Jesus is your coach over there on the sideline going, what did you say? Stop. Oh, wait.
Shake it off. Get over it. Move on. But see, the Christianese way is, yes, just to say laughter is good medicine, shake it off, move on, or just surrender. And I've said on the show before with my guest, I'd say, oh, see, it's so simple, just surrender. And then after I get off the show, I realize that's oversimplifying it. It can be that simple, but it's going through the steps in constant surrender, constant reframing those pivotal moments that's not true about you.
That's not true. And so, darn it, I just moved my chains. They're usually sitting right there. They're over there. I have a big set of chains that I use because I use them for talks. Just lifting, like I have a set of feathers and a set of chains. And when you do the work and when you allow Jesus in, your life can feel eventually like you're just on a feather. And the other is just wrapped in chains. I said that to David about this event this morning. Him and I having coffee. I said, will you pray for us? And I said, the prayer that I have in the forefront of my mind is, I just want to keep everything. We've got comedy bits. We've got to memorize. We got to promote. We have to do all these things. And I realized my happiness does not depend on how many people are on the Zoom, what's going on here. Do I have my jokes memorized? It's not depending on that. Man, this is what you're talking about. It's just like a release. It's a peaceful release. Like, forget all that. That does not bring me happiness. I love this conversation.
Good. I'm going to circle back to another thing you said about the two people from Texas. And some people ask, well, why am I, but I'm in so much pain. What do I do with this pain? What do I do with my background? What do I do with all the things I had to go through? And sometimes God says, it's so you can empathize with other people. The guy in Texas, he said he was had substance abuse problems till he was 40, and he got out of it. And from his release and his belief in Jesus, like, what can I do? What do I know? Well, you know what it feels like to be addicted. And so we started this ranch down in Texas, and it's totally God ordained. They don't raise any money. They just rely on God. They're taken care of. Like I was taken care of in the pandemic, they're taken care of. And they use their empathy that came out of a bad situation to help others. And so a lot of people go, well, I have problems with anger, so I can come alongside other people who have anger issues. I have a problem with shame. I can come alongside people who have problems of shame. So that empathy is also a tool that can be used by God, saying, it's a gift for you. Now you get to help other people because you know what the pain feels like.
Yes.
That's why it says God experienced everything we experienced. He knows all these things, so he can empathize with us. And when he comes alongside, says, cast your burdens on me, cast your worries on me, and he helps carry them. You still have to carry them, but he helps you. And it always makes it easier. So you said, how do I get to those people who say, well, I've heard about God and I don't want to? It's like, well, do you want to find happiness? Do you want to be released of your burden? Do you want to actually feel good about your life? Jesus is going to help you. And I was like, I want to help her. You talk about men. Men have all this burden of, I've got to do this on my own. And women feel like I have to be this kind of person to be loved. And Jesus is saying, no. Men, I'm going to help you carry the burden. Women, you are loved just as you are without any addition. It's you and a good body, you and less weight, you and a mate. No, I love you as you are. And then you're free to go after what God puts on your heart. There, I'm just going to preach all day.
No, it's the man, that what you just said reminds me of the man at the healing pool, that Jesus went to him and said, I heard Christine Kane talk about this. It was really powerful. She said, all the other people scurrying around saying different things to him, but Jesus said, I actually start my workshops with this because he said, do you want to be well? And that's the first question. Do you want to be well? And it sounds like a flippant rhetorical question, but it's a great, we're talking today about taking valuable little nuggets that they just fly by us. And that's why we're not capturing the happiness. It's all these little things. Just to ask yourself, if you're not happy, really, when you put your head on the pillow at the end of the day and you just walked around saying all day long, people say, how are you? You say, oh, I'm fine. Are you fine? And if you're not, do you want to be well? I know I've spent many hours on the phone in the past just talking to my girlfriends. They say, go to the throne before you go to the phone. I didn't even know what that meant. And I used to talk all the time, just hashing it out. And another thing. I guess I didn't really, maybe I wanted to be well, but I just wanted to feel my identity in that pain. Like, you don't know what they did. Do you want to be well? And there's a value in that. And then there's also a value in what we were talking about. Anger is rocket fuel. Look at what happens. Even anger at yourself, but do you want to be well? You enter Jesus into the equation. And like we were talking about Rich from the ranch in Texas, that maybe the anger of what he was going through, or shame, he turned it into a rocket fuel. So it doesn't have to be, anger and shame does not have to be attached to your happiness. That was the whole full circle. The other thing we were talking about is just being like, we're putting a stamp that says value. Yes, please, value on aware of discontent. That's what you said in the beginning. And putting a value on your emotions. You don't have to be, the freedom that of this conversation is, we don't have to be defined by the size of house we live in. And we don't have to be defined by who we used to be and who we think we are and who we're ashamed of.
Ann and I all the time talk about my plot of land. I go, well, I'm just going to go out there and I'm hoeing and plowing my plot of land. And I look at everybody else on Facebook and, look what they got. And they just got, and Rhonda Corey's going to be here tomorrow. She just got her dry bar special. And okay, I want another one, but I only have one. Okay, fine, we're equal. But it's like, and this person got this great gig and they're on this tour. It's like, I'm going to go out and work on my plot of land. And if God wants to, he can make it go 30, 60, 100 time fold of what I plant. But he's responsible for how it grows, not me. I can plant the seed. And I feel directed by what I was supposed to do. I mean, you said you come back to the book, and that's what I did with the book. It's like, all right, God, I'm going to be faithful, and I'm going to write this book. And I don't know if anything's ever going to happen with it. But it's like I've had one or two friends, and David, who just love the book. It's like, okay, good. And, when my prayer for this, and I told my publisher this when he started off, he goes, "What's your goal for this book?" He says, "My goal is when I die, I want to have 1,000 people whose lives were changed by this book.
Yeah.
If they could read this book and they have the same kind of, like you said, I've got a certain kind of mind, it's analytical mind. I'm saying, well, if God created all this, look what he can do for you. It's like, you can't deny that he created the universe, the world, your body, and it's so amazing. It's like, he can take care of rent for you if he can do that. But if 1,000 people can come up to me in heaven and say, you changed my mind.
Yes.
And I know at least 2 or 3 people that I've hit that with so far. I said, I'll be a happy man. And my publisher said, don't ever tell any publisher that. That's not what you want to say. I just want to sell 1,000 books. I go, I can sell 10,000.
But
and,
it's true. But that's your heart. Your heart space is, and that is really that advice there is attaching like a number value on I love that you're just standing for what your happiness would be. It's for 1,000 lives to be changed. This is the book. Tell everybody where they can get it. And I know it's Amazon because.
Yeah, it's on Amazon.com. And just look up Robert G. Lee, What's the Big Idea? And it's the intersection of faith and science told from a smart Alex point of view.
I know. I want to read this because I was looking at it this morning. There's no better way to say it. What's the Big Idea is a smart Alex commentary to the intersection between faith and science told through the lens of the author's own personal journey of beliefs. It uses both humor and heart to lay out overwhelming evidence of the existence of an intelligent designer. And then it says, throughout the book, the reader will be stunned by the awe-inspiring amount of precise fine-tuning in our world and universe demand, as well as amazed at how much information they've totally forgotten since high school. David my hubby, he'd be upstairs reading this and he would just laugh out loud. He loved your writing style because you in high school, you weren't analytical. So you were more like, you chose shop class. And I said, I would have been in shop class with you because I was like, no, we're not talking numbers.
No, I've been the same person my whole life. I've always been that way.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so I want to talk about your comedy career. I want to talk a little bit more about this book. But before we do that, I thought I would play, that guy is so funny. You are in for such a treat. I'm going to play a clip from your Dry Bar special. And they can find that. How do they get to your special? Just drybar.com?
Yeah, YouTube or drybar.com.
Okay, check them out. Hold on one second.
People ask all the time is, what do you do in your spare time? As a married man, the answer is very simple. Whatever my wife wants to do. So, one applause. It was like, one wife, well, okay. So, my wife and I were babysitting for some friends. We were forced into it, so we were babysitting. And I just, after a half hour in this home, we were exhausted. And it was not the kids. It was the rules the parents left for us. How many of you have experienced new parent paranoia out there? All right, okay. So, first off, where did all these peanut allergies come from? As I was like, we could not get into the home without going through a scanner and getting the pat down. Today, if you get a box of Cracker Jacks, it is empty, except for inside there's an EpiPen. That's all that's inside. I tell everybody, in the future, terrorists will not need guns. They won't. They're just going to throw in a jar of Jif. That's all they're going to need. It's like Allah Akbar crunchy style. That's it. Everything we had to feed to these kids had to be healthy and organic. We had to feed free-range chicken, to their caged children. When I was growing up and we got hungry, our parents said, have a Twinkie and a Coke, and I'm still here, health police, choke on that. They had child-proofed the entire house. I understand hiding the knives. They had locks on the toilets. I'm sorry. If you drown in a toilet, that's nature's way of saying, you're not gonna make it. So I'm trying to MacGyver a toilet next to a wiggly 3-year-old going, gotta go potty, gotta go potty, gotta go potty, gotta go potty. It's like, aim for the window, kid, because this ain't happening here. I'm sorry. They had an entire wing of their house devoted to toys. They had a color-coded dresser for their 6 million Legos. Growing up, I had 2 Lincoln Logs. You understand that? 2. It's like, it's a cross, train track, prison bars. That's what I had. That was my childhood. We had to give them a bath. It's like, how much of a sweat could they possibly worked up playing with Legos and eating organic food all day long? Now, how do you remember this? When I grew up, we had a bath once a week. Saturday night, never got in the tub. Never. Our parents were downstairs watching Bonanza. They never checked on us. So we just, you just splashed one hand in the water. By the end of the summer, we had swarthy tans and one white glove. That's what it looked like. That was it. So. We committed the cardinal sin of letting these kids play outside, and they ratted us out. It's like, oh, Father, they let our toes touch grass. And we did not burst into flame. Hast thou lied to us? I gotta tell you, I'm worried about the next generation. I really am. I think if we keep coddling children, this is what we're gonna see in this overprotected society in just a few years. Welcome back to Millennial Baseball, where the California Crybabies are going up against the Colorado Snowflakes. Tension is high in the bottom of the 6th as our batter going out to the mound, to the plate rather, has self-esteem issues, and if the umpire calls a strike, he'll be guilty of a hate crime. But if the pitcher throws a ball, he'll take a self-soothing timeout. Here's the pitch. Oh, the batter connects. It's a short hopper over to right field, but currently the entire outfield is gathered in a resistance protest over in the far left. So the first baseman runs back, scoops up the ball, takes a photo and a selfie, and posts it on Instagram. He throws a heater over to second base, but the second baseman trips over the leash of their emotional support animal. So the runner rounds their way to third. The third base life coach waves him into home, which is where he'll be staying 5 minutes after he graduates. The second baseman gets the ball, wipes off the slobber, throws it home, the runner slides, and the umpire calls him out. But to keep it fair, both teams score 1 run each here on Millennial Baseball.
Oh my gosh, you are so funny. You crack me up. Oh my, you're so talented. You make it look so easy. And I know that a lot of comics, they look up to you, that you've mentored a lot of comics, but would you where do we begin with your comedy career? But I can't.
It's over.
Oh, okay. Well, let's I can throw the pen. No, where to begin with you? You've done so many things: Veggie Tales, Dry Bar, Sirius Radio, movies. You've done it all. I know it's not about the identity being attached, but.
Well, I'm teaching a comedy class right now, and I just tell them, you don't know me. I'm not famous. I'll never be famous. God was gracious enough to me to not give me the gift of fame, because it would have ruined me, because I would have been a serious jerk, more of a jerk than I am now. But I was able to make a living at it. So I'm very grateful for that. I fell into doing TV warm-up, and my daughter has said several times, Dad, you don't understand, audience warm-up, that's your superpower. Yes. Other people can they do material. And I love writing. I love doing the clever bits, like, Millennial Baseball. Oh, that's really fun. I'm going to try a new one out tomorrow night, where I'm going to do the, it's a new bit with The Wizard of Oz. We'll see how that works tomorrow. But I've never done that on stage. It'll be the first time tonight and the second time tomorrow night. So tune in tomorrow night.
Oh my gosh.
But I love just the creative process. I think I have a sliver of God's personality, and he loves to create, as evidenced by the universe and the world and everything that happened. So that's just my sliver. Some people have hospitality. Some people have a drive. Some people are athletic. But for me, I love it. And so everything comes out of just that creative nature. Sometimes it's a stand-up bit. Sometimes it's a screenplay. Sometimes it's a book. I just can't help but create. And my wife knows that about me, and that's just what I do. So my stand-up comedy career comes from that.
You are just so accomplished. I mean, the fact that you do warm up. I mean, Rhonda and I, they're on the dinner table. We were talking about how you're so great at crowd work, and that is not easy. So you are, I am so honored to have you here. I know you've helped me, you've mentored me, you've helped me with a lot of my punchlines, and we are so excited. People are so excited to see you tomorrow. We're going to have a live show tomorrow, Saturday, April 24th. So join us. Wait, what?
I finished cleaning.
Oh, yeah.
Finished cleaning the bathroom.
I'm falling. Hi, it's our Rhonda Corey. Look who's here. Come on in and say hi to the people.
Hi, people. She makes you clean. If you want to be on the show,
are you
on
done?
The show now?
Did you do the bathroom, the toilets, is everything?
Have you
done?
turned on my trailer? That's what I want to know.
No, I haven't.
All right, we've been on here for an hour. I expected my trailer to be clean when I come back.
I made a sign for the door. I noticed there wasn't one with my name on it.
Rhonda has been just doing a slight pout, just a little bit, because I only give the headliner his own stage room sign door. But Rhonda's been, so you know what? We're going to make it happen. I'm just putting it up. But girl, listen, what's done? Did you empty the dishwasher? Is that done?
Well, the whole thing.
The whole thing. There's a lot of
I
kids
did the
around.
bathroom.
You stay free
I didn't do the
here.
trailer yet.
Robert's trailer, because he's the headliner.
Wait, this is an acne thing. This is not a cleansing brush. This is to cleanse your skin.
My daughter's skin is going to be all messed up.
You clean the toilet with their acne.
I have to go to the store. I have to replace one of these. It works great on the toilet, though. It really does. It's this has multiple uses. You're welcome. See?
You guys, I love you so much. This is Rhonda Corey. You hear me talking about her all the time. She's from Rhode Island. So Robert's here from LA. Rhonda is here, just scrubbing away from Rhode Island.
Clean. Earn my keep.
Well, Joey Aiello set the bar high because, he was walking the dog. If you guys, anybody watch Frankie? He loves company.
I fed him cookies. That's all I've done.
You guys,
on my lap.
He did. He loves you.
I love
He's been
him.
waiting for you.
He's so cute.
We are so excited. Let me put this up again. Tomorrow night is the night. Join us. Here's the poster again. We are going to be here live with a small, minimal audience. So we are going to be joining you virtually. So all you have to do, I will put the link in the comments to join us. I hope you'll be done by then because we have time. You'll be done. Well, when you come here and headline, it might be different. Right, because you're going to do that next.
I gotta step up my game.
I haven't asked Robert to do a thing.
I noticed that, and he has a sign on the big door. Picture.
Yes. So we're going to be having so much fun tomorrow night. Join us. There's going to be a lot right there. That door you guys are going to be walking through, and we are reviving the Cubby Hole. And I have this for you to sign, Robert. And this for Rhonda to sign. They're going to be signing it live after they perform. We cannot wait to perform for all of you because you know what? It is true that it does say in Proverbs 17:22 that laughter is good medicine. You do have to remember the next part.
Cleaning
too.
is not.
Cleaning is not.
Cleaning dries the bones. That's the message version of that.
Yes, I think it is.
I can't wait. Tomorrow night, we're going to have so much fun. This girl, this guy, and Timothy Steele is going to be joining us. All four of us are going to be on that stage. And my beautiful friend, Lisa Drew, is going to be opening the show. I can't wait. So join us. Find the link in the comments. Robert, would you like to finish anything before we go?
No, I want her to do my trailer.
I gotta go.
Okay, well,
down his trailer. I'm sorry.
I'm going to go up and make you guys breakfast. You can have a breakfast break and then back at it. Okay?
Okay.
I'll come help you. We'll do it together.
Eat a little something.
We'll eat a little something. Okay, guys, we'll see you tomorrow night. Join us. Find the link in the comments. Robert, thank you so much. What a beautiful, blessed conversation. We were just talking about how your happiness is not attached to your identity.
To cleaning.
To cleaning.
Cleaning.
Doesn't matter how clean it is. It doesn't matter. I love you guys. See you next Friday where my guest will be Jeff Allen. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.